I'll introduce this. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
La ilaha illallah.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan wa rasuluhu. With Allah's name, merciful, benefactor, merciful Redeemer, all I give open and sincere testimony that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah one alone. Open and sincere testimony that Muhammad is the servant of God. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We welcome everyone. Masjid al-Mu'minun Halloween service on this Sunday, the 16th, 2025. And for all of those who might be joining us by other mediums, joining us by Facebook, YouTube, and other mediums as well as it stands procedure for us. We make a for Salatul Gur, which we do, and then we will return back to this station for our formal Talim setting. We've had our advance, so we get and we go from there.
Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله قامت الصلاة قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Make our attention for our concentration. This for the last time we can make a lot of this. Allahu Akbar. 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 Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Akbar. Sallallahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That's a good thing to say.
Again, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Most grateful on this day to be able to be present again. On this day and in this month.
Yeah.
And it is said sometimes ingratitude can be connected to this big. So we want to be among those who are alhamdulillah. We want to be among those persons who are grateful. And we are especially pleased to be able to be young minds with us on this day and to studying the faith. They'll be our leaders and the humanity in the future. We want to have God conscious in the future. So we are especially pleased and happy to see them on this day. Now, you know, this day, we're in February, and in February is Black History Month, and it's also what they call History Month, and is recognized in America and also in Canada. Black History Month is recognized, recognized in America, and it's also recognized in Canada. I can remember a few years ago, we were having a convention and during one of the breaks, I took some young people, about 8 of them. That was when you could just get in the bus and go across under the water, under the river into Canada. So we went there, and when I got there, I saw a historic marker, like in the kind of in the city, in the center of the city, and I don't remember the wording of it, but it said that Canada was one of those havens where slavery wasn't permitted. So people who were trying to the South, trying to escape horrifying conditions of slavery, they weren't just New York, they were also trying to get on up to Canada too. This concept was initiated by whom? Who initiated that? He was conceptualized it in 1920, and that at that time, and we can remember back, because I remember in school, we used to have Negro History Week, second week in February. That would be Negro History Week. It is said that Carter, he recommended that it be celebrated in the second week because this was President, it was the week of President Lincoln Day and the week of Frederick Douglass's birthday. So we chose the second week in February, and in 1986, it was established History Month instead of Negro History Week. And it was a time in which we could kind of highlight the accomplishments and the souls of African American people down through history, what their accomplishments have been, and what their history has been. We won't recount all of them because they just too numerous. If we just Google African American contributions or and contributions to the world. We'll be reading for days the contribution, just that volume, just that much volume in there. And it's important that we know our history. Good for us to kind of seek the knowledge that's in our history. As a matter of fact, the people upon him said, and I want to remind us of a few that are connected to the benefit of seeking. And we should keep in mind that history at the same time, they're on parallel tracks, however far we want to go back. One of the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was reported by Anas. He said, seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. Seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. And we know an obligation is something that is required of us. It's not a choice. We can choose or not. No, we should be seeking knowledge. And he recorded also Abu Hurairah said, as we put it to him, said, this is the peace upon him said, so whoever path in search of knowledge, Allah will make easy for him a path to paradise. So people do not gather in the houses of Allah, reciting the book of Allah, and studying it together, tranquility will descend upon them. Mercy will cover them. Angels will surround them. And Allah will mention them to those near him. That's if we just reflect on that just for a minute, that's not just powerful, it's kind of overwhelming. Whoever travels the path of knowledge, Allah will make easy for him the path to paradise. And those persons, like these believers who are gathering here in Masjid al-Mu'minun and gathering in other mosques and centers, religious worship all over the world, reciting the book of Allah and studying it, this hadith said tranquility will descend on them. Allah's mercy is going to come to them. The angels going to surround them. That's enough for us to be seeking knowledge right there. Our young students, they were here early this morning and they were engaged in this very activity. Y'all want to share something from your morning? You're welcome. We invite you. You take a mind to anytime during this time, you reminded of something you thought was important or benefited you this morning, and you said, I'm gonna hold this in my heart and in my mind so that I can live by it tomorrow and the next day. So anytime you want to do that, just let me know. So, Bro Ali, I got something. Another hadith is about seeking knowledge now. And this, we in Black History Month too, but we ain't just talking about black, we talking about knowledge overall, knowledge of humanity. The revealed knowledge that Allah has revealed. So verily the angels, it's a hadith of Prophet Muhammad, lower their wings to the seeker of knowledge. The inhabitants of the heavens and earth, even the fish in the depths of the water, seek forgiveness for the scholar. The virtue of the scholar over the worshiper is like the superiority of the moon over the stars. So the virtue of the scholar over the worshiper is like the superiority of the moon over the stars. Is it greater? Yes. So the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. They do not leave behind gold and silver coins. So the scholars don't leave behind gold and silver coins, but rather they leave behind knowledge. Whoever has taken hold of it has been given an abundant share. So don't y'all stop seeking knowledge. Get deep into it. So you don't just be a fisherman out in a pond, out in the ocean, and do some deep sea fishing. Get deep into it. You be a deep sea fisherman. And the last one, it says, the virtue of the scholar over the worshiper is like my virtue over the least of you. That's Allah. Verily Allah, His angels, the inhabitants of the heavens and the earth, even the ants in His hole, and the fish, send blessing upon who teaches people what is good. So this is from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's benefit of knowledge. So we should always take advantage of an opportunity to just try to dig into just the revealed word or in the historical information to see how it can benefit us so that we can see if we can benefit people by it. All right, everything is in a time context, right? We're talking about knowledge, and we can look at it in terms of the past, and we can also look in terms of it as in the present or the future. Did someone have a comment? Yes, brother there.
I just like to add that also with knowledge, our leader, Imam Deputy Muhammad, also taught us to look to make connections, connecting that knowledge, with our on how to apply to our daily lives.
Yes.
And make those connections. It benefits us greatly.
Alhamdulillah, shukran. These comments, and this is a quote, because it put things in time context. Sometimes when we hear knowledge and information, we think it applies to the past. or something that a record of ancient times or just a narrative. Imagine he says to us, and I quote, he says about time, because he reminded us, he said, we living in the day of what? Days of judgment. We living in the day of judgment. So sometimes a person has read something about the day of judgment. So imagine this, he says, what I want to say is, this is the time that all of those things, the time we're living in now, that were predicted to come together and reach their fulfillment, their biggest possible presence on the earth. At that time, it can't go any further. They're done. Everything that was prophesied has happened. Everything that was prophesied has happened. This is one of the prophecies. Corruption that will spread over land and sea and reach everybody. Has it happened? Yes. So that is happened. So people will be made to babble and not speak intelligence. Has that happened? We hear coming out of the most hallowed hall some of the craziest commentary. Everything that you see in scripture pointing to the end of time, what they call eschatology, eschatological time for events that develop because of man's growing on this planet Earth, we have reached it. We are living in that day. Any comment? So these are the last days. The day of fulfillment. Now you know sometimes we have to get in our mind, we have to decode things, put them in the proper perspective. Let's say, well, this is the last day, this is the end of time, because we have been taught, especially in religion, to think about things so materialistic. Physically, we say the end of time is going to be the end of all the world. No, don't think about it like that. Think about it as the end of the world of those who have corrupted what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. It's the end of their world. It's the end of their time. Yes, Sister Lydia.
My mind is racing, but I'm thinking about in the line of prophethood, prophets and messengers. One of them came at a time that was similar to the time that we are in now. And when they did come, everything changed. And I agree that we're in that time. And my mind is racing, but I can see the parallel between all of those lifetimes and ours too.
Alhamdulillah. And that's a very poignant point that you raised right there. That point there, it appears that prophets and messengers, that they were dealing with situations and things just like we dealing with today in their time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised them up, revealed to them, so that they could benefit the people of their time. The people of their time would be aware of what they were living in. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
If I may recite from Surah 44 and 5.
Surah 44,
Surah 40
40.
and ayats 4 and 5. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. None, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. None can dispute about the signs of Allah but the unbelievers. Let not then their strutting about through the land deceive thee. But there were people before them who denied the signs, the people of Noah and the confederates of evil after them, and every people plotted against their prophet to seize him and disputed by means of vanities therewith to condemn the truth. But it was I that seized them, and how terrible was my requital. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allah.
Very appropriate. I think that kind of dovetails into exactly the statement that Lydia made earlier. Did you want to expound on that fast? If not, I see other comments.
You know, when you made the statement about the end of time, and I'm thinking and reflecting on really so many of our seniors say that all the time. Not in the context that you're talking about, but in the context of this is the end of the world, because it's a conversation we had. My position was always different. But they said, what Allah says is going to be it. I said, but it's a different understanding for me. It's totally different. An end to those things, like you're talking about, that are happening that are not pleasing to Allah. Those things that displeases Allah, whether it is a nation of people, whether it is an individual, those things that affect people in humanity, the lack of compassion for others, those things that says you doesn't matter. You know, it says even with the last election we had, the majority of people who did vote were people who said they didn't matter to whoever was running. So we're at a time, in my opinion, that where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said, and I was reading this morning, that everybody has their day and their time. It doesn't mean that all of this is going to diminish, even though you see the fires and the flooding, and it doesn't mean that the earth is going to dissipate and Allah got to start over. I don't see it like that. So that means that we got more work to do because of the challenges that are put in front of us as believers. We have work to do in order to help facilitate those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in Quran. That we have the believers, it's on the believers to help us make change. Allah is the changer. But he has given us the responsibility of saying, you got a stake in this. Because you say La ilaha illallah, you got a stake in it. And so we have to be moving out and doing some things that says, okay, when you see stuff that's just totally out of order, prayer is wonderful, but Allah always says you got to get up and you got to do something. You can't just pray on stuff. Move out and you have to do some things. And so as we strive to please Allah, in our striving, we have to be doing some things to reach the consciousness of people who can be reached, because not everybody can be reached. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Other comments?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I was
just thinking on that same note that Charmaine was talking about. When you think in terms of throughout history, and you look at today, how the world are, the government, and what have you. And some may say, man, this is wrong. This the way things are running now is wrong. But if you study history, throughout the course of history, throughout the course of our life, there's always been a time that Allah will always send someone else or some sign that would end what we was dealing with, and then something else will come up in this place. So we look at this when we say the end of time of the last day, it's not talking about tomorrow, it's not talking about today. It's talking about the end of one era of something that took place and raising up something new in its stead. So these are some of the what some people used to say back in the day, the signs of time. These are some of the signs. And when we study science, we realize that this is only a part of that science that we are experiencing. And this too is so fast. Assalamu alaikum.
Continue to try to put it in context. This is Imam's comments on this. He said, these are the last days. Now remember in the Quran, the Imam mentioned to us on Friday, said a day with Allah is like what? 1,000 years. So this time, they still got some time that happening. Yeah, America only is 200 and something years old. It ain't past one day. Not the way, according to Allah's time clock. And then another place that says it could be 50,000 years. Plus time. They got time. So we're living in the last days. And he said we have survived the end of time. We have survived the conclusion for Satan's great finale. Shaitan wanted to have a big finale, right? He wanted to lead us away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He didn't want mankind to reach his great destiny. It said of him that he presented himself in one scripture. It said he presented himself in the sky as God. Yeah, he was presenting himself. He said, so we have lived to see his great finale, and we are still intact, so it's a wonderful time for us. Then he says this. He says, there are some who will say and it is said that the end will be a great and dreadful day, right? Great and a dreadful day. Great for the righteous, right? Dreadful for the wicked. He said, well, somebody's gonna say, yeah, but things are still bad. I can't pay my phone bill. They think that's the end of time, I guess. I can't pay my bill. I can't do this, or I can't do that. Imam says of that, he said, all of that is little petty stuff. He said, just hold on to your life. That's what he said. Hold on to your life. A new world is rising up. Everything ain't gonna be fine. He said, you can be hungry for a few more days. You can wear out the light bill for a few more days. Just hold on. That's his word. Just hold on. Says soon a great society is going to be established among us in these United States of America. So we should be seeing this through the language lens of Allah Most High's servant. We ain't gonna see through the world, but look through the language lens of those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed as his servant. Yes.
So see, that has to be repeated constantly.
Okay.
Because for real, some of us think that it's the end of time, literally. Before you read that, I was sitting there thinking, it says, hope of faith in the soothing mercy of Allah.
Yes.
Regardless of what happened, all this madness that happened. Somebody called me the other day and I was laughing. So I said, because to me, I'm seeing it and it's like it's nothing else a certain individual can do that's going to shock me. It's like you're subject to do anything. So even though decisions are affecting people and families and countries and all of this stuff, it's to never lose hope in the mercy of Allah.
That's right.
Regardless of what happened. You don't, that's this part of the test is, do you lose faith when things are not 100 for you? Or do you hold on?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a time that you need to be holding on, because if you don't, then you give in to Shaitan.
Yes.
And we don't want to do that.
Alhamdulillah.
I was in Germantown the other day, and a lady was visiting my client, and I told her, I said, I think times are getting better. She said, I don't know how you can say that times are getting better. I said, I know they're getting better. She said, well, give me a reason why you believe that. I said, well, I compare it to someone who was a drug addict, and they want to get off heroin or cocaine or whatever. And the only way that they're able to do it, they have to bottom out. They have to hit a low to a point. You get to a point where it's no worse. It can get no worse. And as a result of it, you being at a point where it can get no worse, the only thing left is to get better. I said, so it's just that simple. And we're seeing some things that the lady I take care of is 99. And she said, these times we're living in now, she has never seen them in her life. In 100 years, she has never seen a time like this. And so for me, I said, it can't do anything but get better. And I relate that again to the stories of the prophets and the messengers, is that when they came, time really hard, but they got better.
Allahu Akbar. Yes, Sister Brenda.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
This morning, I was actually looking at a series called The Great Migrations, if you all have that. But it dealt with us, Black folk. And since you're speaking about, Black History Month and, his history and all of this, exactly what you are saying happened. We saw the spirit in the sky. Mm-hmm. And someone told us that it was better for us to go north. Mm-hmm. And so the Great Migration happened. We went to Chicago, St. Louis. We just kept going further north. Okay? Got up there, it was worse than what we left behind. Okay? The stories that I heard today, they were ancestors saying that their migration moved to Chicago, moved to New York, thought they were going to live in just a heavenly place, and got there, the rats were everywhere. The food was nothing. They didn't have a job. And the second migration this is in line with time, okay? And this time is over. The time for that great migration was over. And the second migration happened, which was that the next generation of people, our people, moved, they realized that it was probably better down here. This is where they came from. This is where we came from. We did. It appeared to be bad at the time. At the time. And the time has changed. And Allah in a new light. And so now we see the establishment of a different kind, even though it might not be you as Muslims, as a better people. But there's a different people here in this. Yes, sir.
Alhamdulillah. So I'm gonna be doing a little research on great migration and second migration.
Somebody,
Walaikum assalam.
I'm going to make another statement. Matter of fact, Sister Lydia stole my phone. And as I was saying, I'm just reminiscing of this big clock. And if you can, and I can imagine us can just even count the time that clock kept on making the same cycle over and over and over again. So I remember when we were here, I seen this homeless young lady. And of course, you know, I am a sensitive for homeless people. And it reminded me when she time, that was me one day. That was me at one time. Homeless. So people was looking at me now, you would say, homeless? Well, yes, homeless. So that time rolled by, so with the time of the day, and with at this present time, it was so rolled by. So that's the way that clock. Keep on looking at that hand with that clock. Just keep on, and we can never, none of us count how many times that clock around, and we are still here with it. So,
Imam put forth this question here. And it's profound. This was in 2006. Someone alluded to it earlier. It said, he put forth this question. He said, do you know government and religion work together in the ungodly world to control the masses of the people? Mm-hmm. He posed the question. He said, do you know that government and religion work together in the ungodly world? So, you know, what's the ungodly world? You know, the ungodly world is that world where we want to keep Allah out of the picture. We don't want religion in the picture. We don't want compassion and honesty in the picture. No, we don't need that. It's not in the picture. He says God and religion. And he clarified. He said, not all the government leaders or all the religious leaders, but enough of them form and they work to keep the masses ignorant. He said they work to keep the ignorant and babyish. And he progressed from that to say it is so on time, you know, directed. It is so pertinent for the moment we in right now. For the moment we in right now. He said we cannot get where we want to go and get our people. This is our people. Who are our people? The righteous. Our people, right? Our people ain't just black people. Our people are the righteous. All the righteous. all the folks who want to see it right, and get our people where they should go if we pretend that we don't see it. No, we have to inform the people. Did he make this statement? He said, education is the greatest tool for advancing society. For advancing society. Now, sometimes there may be people who want to abolish education, or to abolish a certain type of knowledge that's being taught. Okay, so it's on time. Imam, he says this. He says that don't always think that education is just in academia, school, or in the school established for people. It says the main help for the mind of people is lost many times because the world decides education. So the main help for our intellect is lost the world. Maybe if the world, they want to decide what education ought to be. Then he says, in the form of a question, do you know that big developers, big investors in industry control government and education? That's what he said. Do you know big developers, big investors in industry control government and education? Then he now says this. He said, we see opposition to them, that is, those persons who want to decide what education should be. He said, we only see opposition when a bright intellect is in the country or in a group. And we got some bright intellects coming up, right? The light is so on, they fact check you before you can put a period behind the end. I mean, they don't fact check you. And they don't fact check you. I mean, some people don't want to be fact checked. Don't fact check me. How come? Because you know I'm lying. Don't fact check me. No? Soon as you say it, you know, if you get fact checked, well, no. You know, that's totally incorrect. That's totally so we got bright intellect appearing on the horizon. So those who are responsible for decision, deciding what education should do, hey, they're opposing them now. And we're opposing them. So Imam says, this group, with the right intellect, and it's happening. It's happening. See, you can't see grass. You can't see grass, bro. You just go about your normal business, and before you know it, you said, I got to get a lawn to cut this grass. Now, then you got all in my garden. You know, you got all in the flower bed, everywhere. You can't see it growing. But it's happening. This bright intellect is challenging. And it says that this intellect is going to change and expose the system. They're doing it every day. This intellect is doing it every day. And eventually, in time, in Allah's time. The turn. In time, in time, it's gonna be better. See, and we have to, we gonna be in that time. So it's gonna happen before I get 100. I don't know that. I don't know if it's gonna happen before I get 100. Imam said this to us, right? He said, give him a good future. He posed the question many years ago. He said, where does the soul go when the body dies? So where does the soul die?
Back to Allah.
Alhamdulillah. And he explained, he said, it goes to the one he loves. That's how he can have a good life. It goes to the one he loves, the one who he loves. He goes to the one who was working for what was good, what was proper, what was productive, what was beneficial, what was good for the whole. It goes there. So we'll be there in that part. Now I don't know if you all do this, but sometimes I think about things a little differently, right? I used my mama sometimes in the house with my grandmama. And when my grandmama passed, she'll be walking through the house and she said, Mama, so and so and so and so. See, like she talking to her mom. Not in any way in which improper, as if she communicating with something that's real in her life. Sometimes when I tell my mom, I got you with me, baby. I got it. Yeah, I got it. I got it in my heart. Some of the things that was imparted to us by our parents, we got them with us. They're going to stay with us. See, we got a what? Genetic history, right? And our genetic history go all back to the one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, and then come forth through all those procreations all the way up to today. That gene still us. It ain't gonna never die. For us to see, we want to see what's right established. We want to see that. We want to see it in our soul, and we ain't gonna never be satisfied. We ain't gonna be satisfied. The human being is not gonna be satisfied to see corruption reign in the land. No. It raise up all over. Huh? Yeah. So there are a few ayats. We passed our time, but you can take these ayats. Surah 49, ayat 13. Then Surah 3, ayat 1. And lastly, Surah 4, ayat 135. And we're going to close with that.
Can you talk one more time?
Surah, Holy Quran 49, 13, and look at footnote 49, 33. And then Holy Quran 3, ayat 104. And lastly, 4, 135. Okay, so Rashawn, he got his Quran wide open. You on 4, 135? Okay, you go for 135. Okay, I want us to say this in our mind. 4, 135. We're going 135. Give Rashawn a microphone. That's it. Huh? He's back. Okay, now, wait a minute. We want to have this in our mind. What he about to read. This our mission. This our call to action. This our do. All right, yes.
Right. Oh, ye who believe, stand out firm as witness to Allah, even as against or your parents or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor, for Allah can be best protect both. Follow the lust of your hearts, lest ye swerve, distort justice, or decline to do justice. Verily, Allah is well acquainted that ye do.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
This our mission. Allah said, see, we can't be silent. I was looking at the news this morning, and John Walsh, he wrote a book. I can't say it, a book, but the second word was silent, saying, you know, we cannot be silent. See, sometimes the voices be muted. It's all necessary for evil to prevail is for good people to do. And if they do nothing, that's all evil in order to reign. So let's see this as our mission, as our call to action, as our duty, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the strength to fulfill our duty, fulfill our mission. We're not afraid. We don't want to be silent. Okay. Unless there are other comments, we close. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah fitnu hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Please don't leave. We have a immediate filing family, and all parties are needed. Sorry.
Wa alaikum rahmatullah. I know the treasurer's office always asks if we can